Hey, thanks for dropping by and checking out this message. These lessons come from our Sunday gatherings at Victory Christian Church in Franklin, Indiana. Our 5th through 8th graders meet at 9 or 10:30 a.m. and our high schoolers meet from 6 to 8 p.m. If you find that this content brings value to your life, then please consider subscribing and hitting that bell so that you can be notified when we upload our next message. Our hope is that this video brings more clarity into your life as to who God is and what He wants for you in light of who Jesus is and what He's done for you. Enjoy and have a great day. Hey guys, I gotta tell you, I'm just super pumped for tonight. I love this series. How many of you guys are excited to be here? Yeah, this is like what it's about. This is community. This is, the gospel lived out with one another. I'm pumped for this. So, have you guys ever had a moment where you thought to yourself, how in the world did I get right here? Like you found yourself in a situation where there's no way out of it. You're caught, dead to rights, in trouble, and you have no idea how you got there. Right? It's something that you never would have seen yourself doing. If yourself from yesterday told you that this is the situation you were going to be in, you wouldn't believe yourself. But then somehow you're there. I remember, I was a pretty good kid growing up. I didn't get in a whole lot of trouble. If I ever got asked to go to the principal's office, it was usually for something like, I needed to get pulled out for a dentist appointment or something. But I was terrified, and so I'd go to the principal's office with my knees shaking. I hated to get in trouble. I'm a firstborn. I like to please people in authority. So it's a sickness that I've gotten rid of for the most part. But as a high schooler and as a middle schooler and as an elementary kid, authority figures terrified me. I cried myself to in recess one time because I had to go stand on the line for 10 minutes for something that I didn't do, and I was terrified I was going to get in trouble when I got home. So that's a little bit of my background. So I don't like to take risks. I don't like to do things if I know that I'm not supposed to. And I was I've changed my ways a little bit, but as a kid, I was like a rule follower. You never break the rules unless you want to die kind of thing. And so that caused conflict for me with some of my friends in school because they kind of matured a little before I could and could see the purpose for the rules. And there were times when, yes, you had to follow those, but there were times that doesn't apply here. And I had trouble with that when I was younger. But I remember a couple times specifically, I had a buddy in elementary school and in early middle school whose name was Zach also. And Zach and I, we were childhood friends. We'd known each other since we were 4. We hung out all the time. By the time we were in high school, we'd kind of grown apart and we had our own circles that we hung out with. But at this time in middle school, I remember this very specifically. We were bored one day. I spent the night at his house. It was a Saturday. It's what are we going to do? We got the whole day, right? And so we start going to his knife collection and picking up stuff and we're going to go on a nature walk. We start carrying all his pocket knives. And he had these collections, which I thought was super cool because it made me feel like I was in the movies or something. And so we put 5 knives on us. Some of them were daggers that long, and we thought we were cool, in the Lord of the Rings or something. So we start going out, and we're just walking around his neighborhood, and across the street from his neighborhood was this wooded area. And this wooded area, we were let's go out there, let's go explore. Yeah, I've never been over here before. So we start going out there, and we passed a couple no trespassing signs, so I started to get a little uncomfortable. But I was you know what? It's probably just there so that people don't get hurt, but we're going to be fine. We're going to be safe. So we start venturing out into this wooded area that neither of us had explored before. And we're going on this trail, and it was muddy because it had rained the night before. And I remember we got to this clearing, and we both looked up, and we were both kind of nervous because we were adventuring, getting out beyond where we were comfortable and where we knew where we were. And we look up to this clearing, and across this ravine type thing, there was these tarps draped over some trees, and it was kind of hard to see. But then we both looked, and we could have sworn we saw a rifle pointed out from one of those target practicing, and we'd heard something that sounded like a gunshot. And so we look at each other and we're we should not be here. And so we start to slowly back up, and as we're turning around and walking away, I remember looking down and seeing after we walked back about 30 feet, I saw a big old muddy boot footprint that was fresh after we had just walked through it. And I don't know if it was there before we walked through it, but it looked fresh and we were freaked out. So we told ourselves somebody's following us, right? And so we start to like be real quiet and start to walk down the trail, and Zach was a few feet behind me, and behind this pine tree, he hears this, and this footsteps and a twig snaps, and he goes, "Zach, run, there's someone behind me, run!" So we take off and we're bolting down this trail, slipping in the mud. We get out to the clearing, run across the street, we don't look both ways. We run and we get to his mom's house, and we're freaking out and we're panicking, and his mom's like, whoa, what's going on, brother? There's a guy in the wood here, there's a gun, we were being followed. And so she did the last thing we thought she was gonna do. She goes inside, pulls out the phone, calls the police. The police come to our driveway and start interrogating us because we were on property that we weren't supposed to be trespassing on. But they did confirm they chased an assailant off the premises, but we shouldn't have been there. And so we got along talking to. And I remember in that situation, shaking like crazy, because authority people. And I was freaking out. And I was like, how did this happen to me? Right? You guys ever been in that situation where you're like, how did I get here? What just happened? How did this happen to me? And that was just one of my bad decisions that I got talked into. That I could tell you 100 more stories where I kind of just let myself go along with whatever some of my friends were doing because I didn't want to be, the goody two-shoe that's guys, we shouldn't do this, I might say it, but then I'd go along with it anyway. And you guys know how that is, but maybe you've been there. You've asked yourself, how did this happen to me? Maybe you got caught sneaking out and you broke curfew to hang out with some friends and then got caught on the way back in. That's happened to me. Also, maybe you cheated on a test and you lied to your teacher about it, only to find out that she already knew the answer before she was asking you about it, and then you got caught in the lie as well as cheating. Maybe you showed up at a friend's party where you knew that people were going to be drinking and you just kind of went along with it anyway. And maybe you found yourself in a situation and you're like, how did this happen to me? And so I want you guys to turn to your groups. You got a couple questions you're going to go through, and then we'll come back here in just a moment. All right. So, how did this happen to me? I hope you guys had fun exchanging stories. Talking about some of your dumb decisions. Some of you, I bet your stories trace back to elementary school or middle school. Some of you, I bet your stories trace back to last year or last month. And I hope that you kind of take it all with a grain of salt and have fun with that. Hopefully it helps you get to know each other a little bit better too, so you can hold things over each other's head. No, I'm just kidding. So you can help keep each other accountable, build one another up the next time they're faced with a decision like that. But we often find ourselves asking this question, it's how did this happen to me? And I mean, think about it. If you think about the last time you got caught in trouble for something, the last time you made a bad decision, maybe you didn't know what you were doing or getting into, maybe you did, but the point is you got caught, you got in trouble, you got lectured, you got kicked off the team, maybe you got exposed, you got punished, you got embarrassed, or you got detention, and you asked yourself, how did this happen to me? It's not fair. So-and-so does XYZ all the time, but I do this once and I get in trouble. And you find yourself wondering how you got there. But whatever it is you thought got you there, the common denominator in all of those factors is you. The common denominator in those factors is you. And so my point is this, is that things don't happen to us. Most of the time, we happen upon those things. Those things don't happen to us, we happen upon them. We aren't just innocent bystanders, we are active participators. And until we can own up and take responsibility for our own actions, we're not really going to improve ourselves. We're not really going to get better. We're not going to get to a point where we aren't making bad decisions or making decisions that are bad for our future, right? It's only when we take responsibility, but there's also another part that we have to do. We have to recognize, because this message could easily go into the realm of you just need to make right choices and do better at life, right? And there's plenty of those lessons out there, but that's not what today is. Today's lesson is about what got you to that place. And if you're anything like me and some of the friends that I had growing up, then you didn't happen upon those things alone. You had friends that helped you happen into those circumstances and in those situations. You had people who were influencing you into those decisions. Now, some of us, we like to think that we're better than we are at times and think, well, I'm not influenced by anybody but my own decisions and what I want. And that's cute, but it's not true. We are influenced by the people around us. I mean, you think about it, you're around your friends, you kind of start to talk the same way, tell the same jokes, because that's just how your vibe is amongst your group. And after, time, you step away and you realize like a lot of the way you think and behave is shaped by the way your friends think and behave. And so that's just a reality. That's not good nor bad. That's just life. And so when we recognize that, we can find some wisdom. And we're going to look to the book of Proverbs. This was written by the most wise human being to walk the earth. This was Solomon. If you've read about Solomon, and then you know this. If you haven't, then you can read, I believe it's 1 Kings, and it'll tell you the story about Solomon. And he was the king that was the son of David, who was, the greatest king of Israel. And so he had big shoes to fill. But he asked God for wisdom. When God appeared to him in a dream and asked for him, it told him he could ask for anything. He didn't ask for riches. He didn't ask for anything like that. He just asked for wisdom. And so near the end of his life, Solomon is writing down from his observations. He also wrote the book of Ecclesiastes, so if you want to read that sometime, that's super cool. It's kind of depressing until you get to the point. But he's known for just being super wise. And here's what he says. In Proverbs chapter 12, starting at verse 26, he says, "The righteous choose their friends carefully, but the way of the wicked leads them astray." So, just to kind of clarify what some of these Bible words are, when we say righteous, we're just talking about someone who makes right choices. Someone who does things and is in the habit of doing things right, or the way that God intended. And what he's saying about, if you want to make right decisions or kind of be on a right path, if you want to think about it that way, then you have to have right friends. You have to have friends and people who are influencing you that are all moving the same direction as you. Righteous people choose friends who will help them make the kinds of choices that impact their future in a positive way. Okay, so in other words, a good and a righteous friend will be somebody who is not only thinking about right now, but is also thinking of next year. Who's thinking 5 years down the road. Who's thinking ahead, and maybe not the specifics of their life plan, but they know in general, if I do this now, this is going to affect something later. And you need friends who can think beyond the moment. Because if you are just friends with a bunch of people who can't think beyond the moment of right now, you're going to happen into some right now fun experiences that have really terrible right now consequences tomorrow, right? And some of you have experienced that, so you know it's true. Some of you, you've lucked out. Some of you, you just haven't been given the opportunity yet. So are your friends leading you to a future you're proud of? Or are they leading you into a future that you don't want any part of? And I get in high school, you can't control all the people that you hang out with, right? You can't control who has the same class schedule as you. You can't control who's in your lunch period or who's on your team. And you can't choose every single person that you want to hang out with all of the time. I get it. But what he's saying is that if we want to make right decisions, if we want to make a future for ourselves that has the least amount of negative consequences as possible, then we have to be careful about who is influencing us. Learning now to choose the kind of friends that are best for you will benefit you later. So even if you're in the room and you're like, I don't really have any friends, I'd give anything to have just a friend. And maybe some of you, you've been in that position where you give in to peer pressure because maybe it'll make you part of a group that you want to be a part of, just so you have somebody. But then I'm telling you now, you want people around you who are going to be thinking about your future. Real friends have real influence. And that influence that they have in your life is undeniable. So being aware of it is the first step. Trying to deny it and think that you can be somehow stronger, it is just foolish. And if we look back to the end of that verse, when Solomon says, "But the way of the wicked leads them astray." Now, when he says wicked, that doesn't mean they're horrible people. Because some of you are like, yeah, so-and-so doesn't make the best decisions all the time, but they're a good person. And that's great, they may be. In fact, I would agree with you. Most people are probably good people who just happen upon bad decisions. But that's not the question you should be thinking about. You want people who are going to be thinking about your future, and not just you alone, meaning like, I only want to be friends with people who are selfless, because that can be selfish if you're not careful. But if you want a future you can be proud of, with a few amount of regrets, you're going to need people around you who see more than right now. So when we have friends whose bad decisions are leading us away from good decisions, that's trouble. When we have friends whose actions don't take their future into account, that's trouble, because they probably won't take your future into account if they're not taking their own into account. And when we have someone around us whose decisions don't have the best interests of others in mind, then that's trouble. And have you guys ever been a part of a situation where you were guilty by association? Where maybe you didn't do anything wrong, but you were around the wrong people at the right time, and you got guilty because of your association? So you know that this is true. Is this person, and so the question we're not asking right now is this a good person? Because that question is a little bit irrelevant. What we want to know is this person a good influence on me right now? So what I'm saying is not that if you have someone who makes some bad decisions from time to time, I'm not saying drop kick them out of your life and have nothing to do with them. That's actually, I would argue, the opposite at times. But what I am going to say is that you have to guard your inner circle. I mean, even Jesus had an inner circle. He had the people he interacted with in his ministry, and then he had his disciples, his 12. But then he had his inner circle, Peter, James, and John. And the same is true for all of us. Most of us, we don't just open up our deepest, darkest secrets to all of our friends. We do to maybe one or two people. And so what I want you guys to recognize is that no, you can't control everyone who hangs out with you all the time, and no, you shouldn't just kick people out of your life who sometimes makes bad decisions, or maybe even someone who makes a lot of bad decisions all the time, but you're still friends with them. I'm not saying you got to ditch them and stop being friends with them. What I am saying is you have to guard your inner circle. So if I were to map this out for you guys, I promise I'm not going to be writing, so you will be able to tell what I'm doing. This is you, and you're happy. Say hi, me. Cool. Mr. Me over here has got a couple of good friends. And this is your inner circle. These are the people who are going to have your back. These are the people that are going to have the most influence into your life. These are the people that when you're super excited about something, they're the first person you call. Or when you're super bummed about something, or something horrible happens to you, they're the first people you call or text or whatever. And then you got another layer of circle, another circle outside of that. You got friends that you're actually really good friends with. Maybe you're on the same team as them. Maybe whenever you have parties or you hang out with a bunch of people, that's your group right there. Maybe they're people in your small group. Maybe they're people just that you've had class with for years, and so you're good friends with them. So maybe these are close friends, but they're not your inner circle. These are your close friends. And then you've got another layer out here. And these are the people that most of the time you're just around and you've got no beef with. You're friends with them. If you were to run into them at Walmart or whatever, you'd say hi. You're friendly with these people, but they're closer to acquaintances than they are friends. And so you got these layers, these circles of friendships, where you have people that you just know and you like, and they like you, and for the most part, you would say you're friends. And then you got the people that are your close group of friends, but then you got your inner circle. And what I'm saying is you don't have to drop kick everyone who makes bad decisions out of your life. What I am saying is you have to recognize the amount of influence that people have on you, and you have to guard your inner circle. Because the people that are close to you, the 1, 2, 3 people that are closest to you in your life, those are the ones that are going to have the most influence on where you're headed. They're the ones that can either make or break your high school experience. They're the ones that can either make or break your life experience. Because if you've got someone that is right there with you, going through life with you, they know your hang-ups, they know the things that are going on with you, they know what you're struggling with, they know what you're great at and what you're striving towards. Those are the people that are thinking ahead and are not just thinking about themselves. And they're not just thinking about the right now, but they have the ability to see into the future and to think beyond now. And again, that doesn't mean that they have their life plan figured out, or if you want to get into IU, you have to do X, Y, Z, and you can't go over there and all this kind of stuff. These are not those people. These are the people who know, well, in general, I know if I want to go somewhere to school and get a 4-year college education, then I know I have to work on this test right now, even though it seems menial and pointless and I hate it. And they're the friends that are going to encourage you in the right now because of what's next. And those are the people you want to surround yourself with. And I would encourage you even to give people permission and say, like, hey, I just want you to know you're one of my guys. And not so that you can start some kind of club or some kind of clique and like let people feel left out, but so that they can keep you accountable. And so that they can say, wow, that's an honor. I appreciate that, and I feel the same about you. Or I will do everything I can to help carry your burdens with you, to help encourage you through this. And those are the people that you want in your life. The circle closest to you, that's your inner circle. Those are your 2 or 3 very best friends, and they should be your most righteous friends, if we want to use that word from the memory verse. They should lead you towards making the best decisions for your future. This is what you want in your inner circle. And if you have a lot of friends, but you don't know who would be in your inner circle, then I would ask you to evaluate that. And you're going to have a sheet here that's going to help you with that in just a minute. But I want you to walk out of here with some actionable steps that you can say, you know what, I know I can't control everybody who's around me all the time, but I know that I got to have the people in my life that are influencing the most, they've got to be on the same life mission as me. And if you believe that, if you're a Christ follower, if you want, your sole mission in life, before some future family, before your boyfriend or girlfriend, before whatever college you want to get into, before any of that, if Jesus is their number one, and that's your number one, you want somebody who Jesus is their number one, right there with you, walking the same path as you. Because they're going to be the ones that encourage you the most, and they're the ones that are going to get you. They're going to understand you. For those of you who were at CIY last summer, we kind of had a theme, a saying. Do you guys remember what it was? There's power in... There's what? There's power in community, and that's what today's lesson is all about. There's power in community, and it starts with your inner circle. Because we can't have CIY every week. We don't even have this every week. But you can have an inner circle that is with you, and that maybe even if they don't go to the same school with you, you guys have phones that you can connect with people from miles and miles apart. You have people that can be your inner circle and can be your community. So guard your inner circle carefully. What kind of influence do they have on your life right now? You're going to kind of go back to your group, and you have that sheet that you're going to fill out and some more questions to go through. And hopefully that gives you guys some more actionable steps to help you kind of evaluate. And here's the thing though, I don't want you to write any names on this sheet while you're here at group, okay? Because we don't want anyone to feel left out. We don't want people to feel like, well, I don't have anybody that I can call my inner circle. We don't want to be a clique. We want to be a safe place where we can encourage one another. And I'm not saying that means you got to be best buddy buds with everybody in your small group, but I am saying you should have the kindness and the Jesus kind of love to look out for everybody in your immediate circle, at least here in this kind of situation, that this is a safe place. You can share things that won't go past these walls. You can share things that and help give each other permission to build one another up and encourage one another. So don't write any names right now. Do that when you get home, but write down the qualities that are on this worksheet. Your small group leaders will give you some more instructions. I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Small group leaders, I'm going to let you close out this time with prayer right about 8 o'clock. You got about 15 more minutes for this time. And I love you guys. Hey, hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up and make sure you're subscribed so you're notified when we upload future videos. Have a great day.